Hey everybody, it's Party Elite here with another episode of Total Breakdown, back after the Tomb Kings patch and a very long hiatus with a fresh start to my pile of battles. So make sure you submit your battles through the link down below or through the Discord linked down below as well. Today's battle is from the Warhammer Fantasy League tournament, a link to whose Discord you can find below as well, and it pits the Tomb Kings of Viking Cat against the High Elves of Migza. In keeping with good tradition, we begin with a conversation about composition and deployment. As you can see, the Tomb Kings here are led by Archon the Black atop his chariot alongside a Necrotect on foot. The front line consists of these 4 units of skeleton warriors, and right behind them we have the Ushapti with Great Bow, as well as the Chosen of the Gods, acting as archers, but also sort of like artillery pieces, really. Then we've got the Ushapti right behind them on either flank, adding punching power to the front line, with the Spearmen capping off the flanks. Up front over here, we have 2 units, the Sepulchral Stalkers and the Regiment of Renown variant, the Eyes of the Desert. And then finally, all the way across the field, acting as a bit of a scout, Vanguard deployed the Skeleton Horsemen, who find themselves in a very precarious situation, unfortunately. Now, the High Elves are led by Teclis atop his mount, and we also have a Noble atop the chariot. Over here, obviously, the layout doesn't really make a difference right now because it's in motion, but we've got 4 units of Spearmen and 4 units of White Lions of Shrace, alongside 3 units of Lothern Sea Guard and the Frostheart Phoenix up in the air, pushing forward to scout. So, as we kick off to full speed, you can see right away Teclis pushes in and sees these Skeleton Horsemen, which is not a good time for them at all. Of course, they get spotted, and now they're going to be targeted, focused upon to make sure that the movements of the High Elves aren't easily seen. So let's hide the trees over here, and you can see they're taking a lot of damage, especially to morale, with all of that range fire coming in from the Lothern Sea Guard. Teclis as well giving chase, making sure they don't get away. Already they begin to crumble. They're not having a good time at all. The Noble as well pulling back here, just trying to finish these guys off nice and early, make sure they're not free to cause any damage. That Frostheart Phoenix coming in as well, just to slow them down if need be, but of course that is not needed. They crumble, they fall, and already things are in favor of the High Elves. And you can see all the way on the other side of the field, we've got the Ushapti with Great Bow pushing forward. Again, they sort of act like artillery pieces as well. So now that the Tomb Kings know exactly what's going on the other side of the field, more or less, they're able to confidently push forward to the cusp of this hill over here and start taking some shots, getting some damage done nice and early. The High Elves themselves creeping forward, hoping to, I think, push around over here and get an engagement on this side of this ridge, but the Tomb Kings largely staying back here, not committing to anything just yet, and again, just sending their Ushapti with Great Bow forward to get a little bit of damage done nice and early. So we can kick it up a notch over here, and you'll see right away as the army comes within vision to each other, really, the High Elves sort of commit to climbing this hill over here and engaging atop this hill, while the Ushapti with Great Bow fire away, focusing in on the White Lions of Shrace to the right over here, hoping to get a little bit of damage done, hoping to cause some hurt to a unit that can be pretty devastating to the lowly Skeleton Warrior. So you can see doing a fair bit of damage there, especially with those cluster bomb-like arrows. A couple of these guys are getting killed, a fair bit of damage to morale as well, but every little bit counts, obviously, as lines are closing. You can see the Frostheart Phoenix here trying to push forward and scare these guys off. Naturally, if it gets too close, the Ushapti with Great Bow will be slowed down, so they do have to be wary, and you can see the orders being given to fall back before things get a little too risky for them up front over there. Meanwhile, all the way at the back, you can see the Tomb Kings are pushing forward now, hoping to engage atop this cliff over here, which is an interesting choice. I have never seen this map have an engagement happen rather, sort of across the ridge. It's always one side to the other, but the Frostheart Phoenix, you can see, pushing forward, chasing after the Ushapti here, hoping to get a little bit of damage here, or at least keep them moving so they're not able to turn around and fire, buying some time for the front line here creeping forward. Again, if the Frostheart Phoenix gets too close, it'll slow these guys down. As you can see happening right now, they are affected by the aura, drops down, pokes and prods, causes a bit of morale damage, turns around and leaves. And of course the Ushapti here try to take some shots, get a little bit of damage into the Frostheart Phoenix, and the Frostheart Phoenix decides to get away, and these guys also pull back into safety as the front lines are forming up now, ready to face off. Frostheart Phoenix again looking for an opportunity, decides to dive into the Ushapti, again trying to buy some time while these guys are opening fire now at a different unit of White Lions of Shrace, spreading the love a little bit, doing a little bit of hurt here, a little bit of hurt there. Not a problem at all, of course. Just making sure that the center is as weak as possible and really trying to get an advantage to this right flank as well by damaging those White Lions of Shrace. Now the rest of the army is forced to push forward, wanting to close the gap, trying not to give the Frostheart Phoenix too much time to poke and prod. And of course the Noble is here now as well, atop a chariot that's very dangerous for infantry. So trying to reduce the time that the Noble has, I think, to get around the flanks and trying to get the engagement started sooner rather than later, especially since the Lothern Sea Guard have such great range. They're able to cause a lot of damage, and you can see right away they are focusing on Archon Archon. Great call there. You want to focus in on the leadership and cause as much damage there as possible. Meanwhile, as the front lines are about to engage, you can see we've got the Fate of Buna going down on these White Lines of Trace. So the threatening units across the front line have taken a fair bit of damage. The White Lines of Trace, either through the Ushabti with Great Bow, or of course the Fate of Buna right now. And now, as lines collide, you can see the Frostheart Phoenix comes in for a nice rear charge into these Skeleton Warriors, and that's going to do a fair bit of morale damage. And of course, with Crumbling kicking in, that can do a lot as well if enough morale damage takes place over here. And in comes the Flock of Doom upgraded as well, causing a lot of hurt there. In the center over here, we've got the Libra Mortis going down, providing some physical resistance as the Ushabti dive in to these White Lines of Trace, trying to get rid of that center. Archon dives in as well with a wonderful Chariot charge. Of course, he can do a lot of work, but in comes the Flaming Sword of Ruin in response, helping the weapon damage coming through, and wonderfully timed as well. That extra weapon damage is going to do a lot as soon as the Libra Mortis dies off, which is going to be in just a handful of seconds more. Meanwhile, to the right over here, you can see we've got the Ushabti just standing back there. They need to be sent in as these Skeleton Warriors are falling apart. They do need all the support they can get. And in the center once more, you can see the Net of a Mintok now going down on Archon, making sure that he gets hit by all of that range fire. He's not able to get away. The Tomb Blade of Archon comes in as well, trying to provide some support, replenish hit points to all these units, trying to hold that center as the White Lines of Trace here give up. And now we've got a wonderful fiery Convocation coming in. That Phoenix is wonderfully placed and targeted. Take a look at how much damage it does to these unfortunate Skeleton Warriors over here. Absolutely devastating the front line there for the Skeleton Warriors. The Ushabti to the right now finally diving in, providing support to the Skeleton Warriors to the right over here. The White Lines of Trace do not stand a chance against the Ushabti. In fact, take a look at the center over here. These White Lines of Trace forced back as the Ushabti now break through, turn around, giving chase to Teclis, who tries to dive in and finish these Skeleton Warriors off to the left as quickly as possible. But the Ushabti come in comes another Realm of Souls. We're already at the third Realm of Souls. The Ushabti are ready to come in, and you'll see they do get brought into the left over here, while all the way to the right, these Skeleton Warriors are giving up. They're disintegrating away as the Ushabti try to get some damage in to the White Lines of Trace and again try to scare them off. Meanwhile, you'll see as the Lothar and Seaguard continue to fire away at Archon, continue to focus in on him. The Ushabti with Great Bow are responding by firing at the Lothar and Seaguard, hoping to scare them off. So great work there, great call, try to eliminate enemy range support. And here you'll see the Ushabti from the Realm of Souls coming in, able to dive in and finish off this left flank, try to give an advantage to these Spearmen who are otherwise in a tough spot. The Sepulchral Stalkers as well now diving in, trying to get very aggressive. They are anti-large in melee, so they have to dive into the Noble. It would be an ideal position for them, but they decide to turn in over here instead and try to free up Archon, I think. The Frostheart Phoenix here as well, very threatening unit, so you want to dive in there with all your anti-large, and you can see Archon is not in a good spot at all. He's taken a lot of damage with the Flock of Doom coming in as well, and now you'll see he gets hit once more by the Net of a Mintok, pinning him in place, making sure he's not able to get away. But the front line, for all intents and purposes, has gone in the way of the Tomb Kings. The White Lines of Trace are all giving up. The Spearmen are in precarious situations left and right. Over here, these White Lines of Trace have given up as well. The Ushabti can now chase after some of these Lothar and Seaguard. Over here, you'll see we've got these Ushabti from the Realm of Souls coming in to chase after the Lothar and Seaguard and shut down their ranged support, while in the center over here, we have the Libra Mortis going in again. Unfortunately, though, the Frostheart Phoenix dives in against Archon the Black, and that physical resistance from the Libra Mortis does nothing against the magical damage of the Frostheart Phoenix. So Archon the Black with about a fifth of his health left in a very dangerous situation. The Sepulchral Stalkers, though, both the Regiment of Renown and the regular unit, are able to turn around and bog down that Frostheart Phoenix. They are anti-large in melee again, so that's why they're spending more time in melee rather than firing in from a distance. Great call there, but unfortunately, Archon is just in a tough spot. He's trying to get away. Teclis comes in as well, despite being hit by Spirit Leech. He tries to dive in and take care of Archon as well. A full surround. The Noble comes in as well. If leadership drops for a unit or for an army like the Tomb Kings, it is absolutely devastating. Lothar and Seaguard continue to fire away, while back here, these Ushabti are trying to keep the other two units of Lothar and Seaguard occupied. Unfortunately, not able to shut these guys down just yet. Archon now slowly beginning to give up on the fight. He's at critical binding, fully surrounded, taking a lot of hurt, and ultimately falls apart and dies. And take a look at the morale damage it does across the field. In comes a Flock of Doom in the center here as well, dropping these Sepulchral Stalkers, dropping their morale significantly, and trying to get them to give up on the fight. Over here, these Skeleton Spearmen just barely hanging on to the fight. The Ushabti here as well, now chasing after these White Lines of Trace rather uselessly, if I'm to be perfectly honest. They could come in for a rear charge over here or chase after the Lothar and Seaguard, while off in the distance, these two Ushabti units are doing a wonderful job chasing after the Lothar and Seaguard, chasing after these White Lines of Trace, getting them both to completely give up on the fight after these guys had already given up. They're right back to fight again now, but they're too far away to do anything just yet, and they can be quickly shut down by some chasing Ushabti. Back over here in the front lines, you can see the Sepulchral Stalkers find themselves in a very precarious situation as well. The Noble, unfortunately, is not anti-large. Atop the Chariot is anti-infantry, so really should be getting some rear charges into the Skeleton Spearmen here, getting them to disintegrate, trying to help these Spearmen come out on top so they can push in against these Sepulchral Stalkers, but that is just not being done here. We have the Frostheart Phoenix down here as well, though, providing some decent damage, and the Necrotect is being kept occupied. He's been able to provide some help through the recovery capabilities, getting replenishment of health here and there, but right now being occupied by the Frostheart Phoenix Phoenix, and off in the distance here, you'll see Teclis being focused in by the Ushabti with Great Bow. Great amount of damage being done there, of course, and as he's trying to run away, as he's trying to route over here, you'll see the Ushabti just fire away. The cluster fire takes care of Teclis, and down goes High Elf leadership across the board. These guys are turning into shadows here and there, a couple of routes kicking in, so a very precarious situation for the High Elves. But in the center over here, you'll see the Sepulchral Stalkers are almost falling apart, very close to falling apart, but the Noble unfortunately gives up, so all the encouragement capabilities are disappearing from the center over here, and of course the High Elves are not going to want to stick around and fight. These White Lions of Trace giving up on the fight as well. They can be forced to turn around and fight in just a moment's time. They will rally and they will join the fight again, and over here in the center you can see once again the Sepulchral Stalkers are falling apart, very close to dying. The Frostheart Phoenix hanging in there, but of course unfortunately these guys are anti-large, so it's not an ideal situation for the Frostheart Phoenix to be in at all. But over here the Sepulchral Stalkers, again, they just start crumbling, and they ultimately decide to give up as these Chosen of the Gods, out of ammunition now, decide to dive in to the Frostheart Phoenix. So the Frostheart Phoenix now is really the only extremely threatening unit that the High Elves have left on the field. The Ushabti with Great Bow chasing after some of these Lothern Seaguard, making sure they don't return to the fight. These Ushabti over here chasing after the Spearmen. Very easy target there, obviously, for them. They could turn around, come back over here, and deal with the Frostheart Phoenix at this point, though it is quite quickly a Pyrrhic victory for the Tomb Kings. Now, this battle is an excellent showcase of the sheer power of the Ushabti, be they with the Great Bow or without. Over 200 kills, and still at full health, the two Ushabti had some excellent management and slaughtered a quarter of the High Elf army. The Skeleton Warriors and Spearmen did surprisingly well to hold the line, especially with the support from Archon himself. Despite their leader's death, the Tomb Kings fought on, and the extra Ushabti appearing on the field were of great assistance to the left flank. As always, make sure you subscribe to this channel for more Total War content and keep sending in those battle replays. I do think it's one of the best ways to learn, and it's always nice to highlight great battles from the community. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.